What is up, fellow bench warmers? Welcome to another episode of Fantasy Bench Warmers. I'm your host JJT with Komish Eric. Komish Eric, next week we're gonna have our first draft in our FPWD. I know you're not as um, happy with the draft positions that we are in. We've been quite unlucky with the draft positions. Not really unlucky, but we would have wanted uh, somewhere in the middle, maybe, or of course,
I
somewhat
think,
high.
I think right now I have, because in my own, well, I guess for a lot of people also, there are around 11 to 12 first rounders that I'm really comfortable to call first rounders.
Yeah,
And then it's, up to different debates already about 13, 14, 15, and so on and so forth. We had a episode about that, about the 15 to 20th risky players. And then the problem is that's your second round pick. Their first round pick is also going to be risky because,
yeah.
as I
We just
said,
talk
there are
about
only 12.
10
12.
onwards, 10 onwards. A little risky. If you say you can stretch it to 12, so if
I can,
you're
yeah, I can stretch it to 12, maybe 13 if you put Haliburton there. Some people are not sold on Haliburton. Some people are high. So there's like different opinions. But okay, let's put Haliburton there. So that's 13. But 14, you could go LeBron, you could go Kyrie, you could go AD, you could go Paul George, you can go Devin Booker, Ja Morant. And
Kyrie's even going lower. I mean, we put out a poll out there, and then
yeah,
most of the managers or players felt that he's a third rounder, which I felt
the,
is really quite low, considering the potential. Even if he
I'm
plays like, I'm looking at if he might play around 50 to 60 games. I think those are solid numbers already. He misses back to back, maybe, you know, some missed games here and there. There might be some. I'm not even sure if Toronto still accepts unvaccinated players, but
no,
right,
no.
so he'll miss those games. But I think if he is able to play 50 plus games, I think that's a solid number of games already for him.
Yeah, he was fifth per game last year, despite all the drama and everything that happened. He was fifth per game. So, and no question. I mean, if he can get actually 50 is low, but he had 64, I think, 2 years ago with Boston or 3 years ago. And then in his first year, of course, with Brooklyn, that was an injury prone year, and then last year. But the last 2 years with Boston, he was decent. I mean, if you can get 60 games out of him, he'll be a first rounder even in totals. So
He's
that's
always been considered. I cannot say underrated, but he's always considered a risky player. He's been going like even when he's healthy, he's been going like the late second round, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th pick, right? And that's already a good value because he's always, other than the missed games on a per game basis, he can always easily beat those. It's just that there's a lot of risk around him. So, but I think third round, fourth round, that's too low. One of our managers who's also part of our leagues, Christopher Alfonso, said that he got him in the 46th pick. Kyrie, 46 pick.
that's absurd. 46 is too low.
Right,
46 is
right.
too low.
I mean,
I'm
I'm not surprised, but at the same time, 46 is quite low for
No, that's
Kyrie.
too low. That's too low. Kyrie going out of the top 20 is already too low for me. Given this, we have to also look at the circumstances this year compared to last year. As we said, aside from Toronto, the other cities are already allowing unvaccinated players, and it's a contract year.
Yeah.
And yeah, he will find ways to miss games. Of course, he will have a party, his birthday or whatever. He's
No,
gonna miss.
he might get traded some, I mean, that's I think if
I
there's
know.
one news that's been uh making managers fear of him is that he might get traded and all because there have been rumors before. But yeah, 46 is too low, I think.
Too low.
If
Too
you
low.
get him at a 30 plus, that's really good value already. I think I'll pick him there if he's available there. But going back to that low first round picks like the 12, 13, 14, I think this is probably the only year I could remember wherein those usually you don't really fear a position, right? You don't fear where you're gonna get because it's a snake draft. You're probably you could get a good second rounder. But I think this year a lot of managers are fearful within that range, right? The 12, 13, 14, because who to pick, right? I mean, that's the question. Unlike before, there's
I
some consensus 12, 13, 14 pick. Now there's like a lot of risky picks.
until the 12th. I'm comfortable with the 12th pick. I have someone
Who's
there
your
in mind.
all right, so let's just quickly go through before we dive into the depth charts. So Jokic is probably a unanimous first, right?
Jokic.
Giannis and Luka could go there or they could go lower, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna be top 10 at
I
least.
think Luka, Giannis, KD are the next tier. That's 2, 3, 4, in my opinion. And then Embiid is 5. And
Yeah.
then Harden, Curry,
Yeah.
that's 6 and 7. And then there's Tatum. Tatum's 8. Carl Anthony Towns. Trey is 10. Who am I missing? I'm missing one player.
Um uh Carl Anthony Towns, Trey, Steph, Harden, LaMelo,
Lamelo, yeah. Lamelo's part of that
Dame.
Tatum,
Dame.
Trey, that Carl Anthony Towns, that range. That's the 7 to 11, I think. Yeah, 7 to 11 around that range. After Embiid, then Harden. 7 to 11, they're the for me, it's up to your taste really whether you go
Yeah,
Tatum, Towns,
position you
Curry.
want, it depends
Yeah.
on if you like a center or a guard or
That
whatever.
after the Harden, Steph, Embiid trio, 5, 6, 7. So that's 8, 9, 10, 11. The 12 for me is Lillard.
Mhm.
Although Lillard actually can go higher than 12. I
Yeah.
think I'm confident about that. So I'm happy with Lillard. Until Lillard. Now 13th is Haliburton. That's
And
for me
Haliburton has
content.
been, in ranks, in
Yeah.
pre-draft ranks are ranging from the late first round to even the late second round. So that's a large gap, right? So if you're picking 13th and you're looking at Haliburton, you're gonna think twice because some ranks have him at what 17, 18,
Yeah.
right? So that's quite a gap in terms of the rank. So you'll think twice because especially if you're looking at the ranks, is he really going to be living up to the expectations of a first rounder? And Indiana is one of the teams we're gonna talk about today. But yeah, it's now I think it's before mock drafts are not as big maybe for some, but now more than ever if you're in that 12, 13, 14 pick, you should at least do a bunch of mock drafts to
For
see
me, for me, you start at 14. I have a 14 pick. I'm sure you would have. I don't know if you have, but you probably will with the luck that we have. So it's
so
who you get 14, 15.
in the seven draft lotteries that we done, we have 3 13 picks, okay, for the fantasy benchwarmers team. 1 14 pick, 1 12 pick, 1 5 pick, and 1 6 pick. So our luck, hopefully, we're gonna get more luck in the next few drafts. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, so we'll talk more about these things as we talk about the depth charts. So today we'll continue with the depth chart series. We've already had 8 last week. Today we're gonna talk about Denver, Detroit, Golden State, and Indiana. Let me share my screen so you can see it. All right, Denver. Uh, I guess Jokic is clear number one. I don't think we will discuss much about Jokic at this point. Two players who are coming back from injury would be the more intriguing topics to discuss. Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. We talked about Jamal Murray um, I think early on. I forgot which episode, but how do you see Jamal Murray here? Do you think
I I
they're gonna
I
ease
I
him
like
back
Murray this
or?
year. I like Murray this year. He was top 40 before he got injured. He's been around that third round, late third, early fourth before he got injured. He's going, I think, 70, sometimes 75 right now. He's sometimes even lower. So people have forgotten about him or worried about the ACL. That's 18 months ago. He's been playing for a while. I know he's gonna miss some back to backs. He's gonna be load managed early in the season, so probably minutes would be 28, 30, maybe not to 35, 36 like before. But still, around that range, 65, 70, he's a steal there. I actually, uh, he reminds me of Pascal Siakam last year. He reminds me of that.
Yeah.
Someone who should be a third and fourth rounder, but going 75 to 80 or 70 to 80 because of injury concerns. And I think it's gonna pay off. So Jamal is someone I like this year.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the peak here is probably the ceiling is around the 50s, so 40s and 50s.
40s, 50s, yeah.
Yeah. If he drops to 70s, that's a big drop already, and that's a nice position. I think it also depends on which type of players. I mean, he is coming off an ACL injury. Um, I think many are concerned about that. Plus, I think if you pick him, just make sure that the other players are somehow quite solid in terms of, not as injury prone as some of the other guys.
Well, Jamal was not an injury prone player. I think it was
Yeah.
just a one off injury. The guy that we're gonna talk about next, Michael Porter Jr. That's the guy maybe that you pair with someone less risky. But the funny thing here is Michael Porter Jr. is climbing up the draft ranks.
Again?
He's going in the late 30s now, sometimes early 40s. So he's way ahead of Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray is at 70. At Yahoo, I think has it at 70 something, if I'm not mistaken. So Porter is way ahead of Jamal Murray in the
And do you
rank.
think he's worthy of that 30s
I think
pick?
so. You might be surprised, but I listened to some podcasts of Denver analysts, and yeah, the back problem will not go away. But they fixed it now, but it will come back eventually down the road. But they don't know when. So it's like they don't know how long he can still play. Maybe 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. So, but I think for this year, he should be healthy. I think he should be healthy this year. He was close to playing last year. So I think he should be healthy this year. Not gonna be 82 game player, of course.
But
62
third round, I mean,
games. But
30s is too high for me.
not 30. He's around 30, late 30s to early 40s. That's
Yeah,
where he's going.
that's
Yeah.
well, that's okay. But I think given the risk, and if in some drafts Kyrie is going lower than Michael Porter Jr., that's crazy. I think
Nah, that's crazy.
you should. I am more afraid of Michael Porter Jr. than Kyrie. Um, just because of
Yeah,
the injury
I should say
history. This
that.
is not like the back injury is not like the first time he's had it. He had this problem, even before. I mean, not maybe exactly the same problem, but he's had back problems even in college, right?
Yeah. But the point is they fixed it then, and then he was able to play for at least 2 years, 3 years. That's what they think. It's not gonna go away. He's gonna be able to play for a couple of years, okay, and then it will come back and haunt him. So I think this year, yes, of course, there's a chance it will hurt
So you're
him this
more
year. But I think
confident with Michael Porter Jr. than Jamal Murray this year?
I'm confident that he's gonna stay healthy.
Uh, yeah, and maybe let's just put it in a way wherein managers you as a manager would not be. What are the chances of you getting disappointed with Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray? I mean, which player do you think you'll get more disappointed with if they?
Definitely Michael Porter because he's as I said, if he was around 80 or 90 as the first ranks was, I'm okay. I'm okay. But he's climbing up. He's moving up 50s, 40s,
So you
30s.
feel it's a little too high, 40s, 30s.
I think if he was at late 40s, that would be fine. But I see him going early fourth round sometimes, 38, 39. Sometimes 40, 41. A little high for me. I've never been a big fan of MPJ anyways. He's a 3-point shooter who shoots the ball well. I get that. I get that appeal. He rebounds relatively well. But outside of those, I find it lacking a little bit the overall stat set of MPJ. And with the risk, I would be more comfortable if he goes maybe in the 50s. In the
Mhm.
50s. So he's probably more probably there's a bigger chance to be disappointed with him
Okay.
than Jamal. If you're gonna go Jamal in the 70s, I mean there's almost zero chance he's gonna be disappointing you unless he gets injured again.
Yeah.
Unless he gets
Uh,
injured.
Another player, let's talk about the shooting guard. I think this is starting lineup. Jamal, I think, starts unless maybe they decide to ease him a little bit more, but I doubt he doesn't. He comes off the bench, but Jamal starts. KCP probably starts. MPJ starts if he's healthy. If not, maybe Bruce Brown takes his place. Aaron Gordon starts. Jokic starts. KCP, last year he had good value. I mean, not throughout the season, but he was within the top 100 for pretty much majority of the season.
Yeah. KCP is okay. I think he'll love it. He love playing with Jokic. He's gonna get a lot of he cuts very well. He shoots better, I think, than Will Barton. So I think he's gonna have a good season. Maybe later rounds, flyer last few rounds, kind of a pick, but he's gonna be okay. The first five is solid. I think that's the first five. There's no debate about the first five. Maybe the
Yeah.
bench is the thing that's kind
Well,
of
the
question
bench
mark here.
is not well. It's question mark, but it's also intriguing. Bones Highland
Yeah.
is a player, second year
Bones.
player, who probably many would think can somehow get some fantasy value. Um, do you think he's going to be that guy this year?
Yeah. I don't think I know he's gonna get fantasy value. I know he's gonna get fantasy value. He's one of the well sleeper that's of course sleepers. Okay, let's just put it that I mean he's not a sleeper. Everybody's been talking about him. One of the players have been talking about. And if you look at the depth chart, you can see why. Of course, they lost Monte, they
Yeah.
lost Facundo, they lost Austin Rivers. So a lot of course, people will say Jamal came back, but they still need someone to back him up, especially if they're gonna load manage him and he's gonna miss some back to backs and everything else there. He's gonna miss some games. Bones
Yeah.
will be the sixth man. If you look at the bench, there's no scorer there. There's really no scorer there. So Bones will be the sixth man, and I think they'll give him a lot more chances to score this year.
So are you picking Bones as your surprise
Yeah.
player for for Denver this year?
If am I picking him?
Are you picking him as your surprise player who might surprise you this year?
He's in my list. I have actually I wrote an article I haven't released yet. One of the possible breakout sleepers kind of players, and he's one of the top players in my list. I don't expect him to be a top 50 player this year, of course not. But maybe
At
an
least break in
late
the top 100.
possible, depending on how Jamal's health uh, goes. But I think Bones, I think he's gonna be around what Tyrese Maxey. Maybe not as good, but the leap of Maxey last year, I think Bones can do that this year.
All right. Yeah, so that's Denver for you. Quite a deep lineup somehow. I mean, at least you get five solid fantasy players in your starting
Yeah,
five. Just
I
don't
have
silence.
one more player here, Zeke Nagy. Looking at the well, I hope they don't play DeAndre Jordan, of course, backing to back up Jokic because he really can't play anymore. So Zeke last year was able to get some value late in the season. So look out for that backup slot. Remember in Philadelphia we talked about Embiid's backup at that time,
Yeah.
and we said there's no backup there. We talked about Paul Reed. Of course, they signed Montrezl Harrell the other day. So now Reed's value kind of is 50-50 because of Harrell's entry. Now here in Denver, something similar might happen if they sign another veteran. But as of now, if it's just the Andre Jordan, if you're in very deep leagues, watch out for Zeke Nagy. Maybe a very, very deep league player to consider.
All right. So yeah. Denver. That's Denver's depth chart. Let's move on to Detroit's depth chart.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Another interesting lineup here with Detroit. Cade starting five.
Okay, that will be up for debate. So you go first.
Cade. I go Cade. Sadiq is a
Cade.
sure, starter. Um, yeah, Bagley, I think, could start. And Isaiah Stewart. I'm not sure who starts at shooting guard though. But I think Burke starts.
You think Burke starts over Ivy?
Yeah, I think Burke starts at least early in
Okay,
this
and then
at the start of the season. So it's Cade, Burks, Sadiq, Bagley, and Stewart.
okay, so Ivy
You
goes.
think Ivy starts?
I think Ivy starts. I don't know. I just, of course, we don't know anything can happen here. So could be Burks. But I think Cade and Ivy they'll try to play them together right away with Bay Sadiq, and then Isaiah Stewart. We're agreeing with that. The
Yeah.
Marvin Bagley thing, yeah, 80% chance he starts, but there's a lot of possibilities there. They could start Isaiah Livers. He played well last year. Kelly Olynyk. So there's players there that could start. So I'm just saying 70 to 80% they'll start Bagley, not because he's good or better than those players, but because
That is good.
no, maybe because they gave him a contract, so they want to
Yeah, yeah. I think
run
that's my
play.
reason as well. I mean, they started him last year. I think he continues to start this year. I mean, I don't see Dwayne Casey as someone, right? It's still Dwayne Casey, right? Their coach.
Yeah,
I don't
Dwayne
see
Casey,
him
but
making major changes.
Isaiah Livers is someone to watch out though at that position. Maybe not right off the bat, but maybe sometime in the season, not even long into the season because Bagley will suck. I know that Olynyk can be traded. So Livers is someone that I project will start sometime in the season. He will be the starting power forward of this team sometime next season, I think.
Yeah. Any in well, the,
I think
the intriguing guys here. Well, let's start off maybe with Cade, right?
yeah, there.
Cade, how do you see the development of Cade going to be? Second year sophomore. He didn't start the season last year because of injury. That I think might have uh, you know, contributed in him not winning the Rookie of the Year. But how do you see him this year?
I'll be honest. At first, I wasn't looking at him as someone that someone really I'm excited about. But eventually, I look at the lineup. I look at the stats last year, the post All-Star game, last 20-30 games stats, and they're really good. And
They're
then
good, but you're right. He's not an exciting player to pick, though.
yes,
I
but
mean, if you compare it to the batch of rookies that he was with, he's not. He's probably the least exciting player there.
yes, but you know what's funny? He's gonna be the first guy picked still in this year's draft, fantasy wise, among the sophomores, and rightfully so. Now that
Really?
I've thought, yes, he will. He will be the first guy picked
Over Mobley?
over Mobley. He's going as early as 20 some late 20s. Cade Cunningham. I've seen He's ranked currently 32nd, so he's the highest ranked. Yes, the highest ranked sophomore is ranked 32nd, and this ranking was before the Donovan Garland trade. So that's one more thing I was gonna mention, because the trades that happened hurt some of the guards ahead of him. So I think that really improves
Yeah.
his ranking even more, because if you're gonna think about it right now, would you pick him or would you pick Donovan? Would you pick him or would you pick Garland? I think you go with him right now. Even SG, although I know SGA is better than him, they have almost the same kind of stat set if you look at it from
And
last season to this season.
every one of those guys are probably better than him. It's just that, the situation they're in is not as good as Cade's situation.
But SGA's stats last year were very similar to what K did. Very similar to what K did. So I think this year, I would you be surprised if he goes 25-5? That's easy for him. 25-5 and 1 point something steals. That's what SGA does, and I don't think he's gonna be rested like SGA. So that's why I think he might go ahead of SGA in some drafts, but they will be neck and neck in most drafts.
Yeah, very interesting, really, this year's fantasy drafts. Lots of players moving up, lots of players, the old reliables before starting to move down, new faces trying to move up, right? We have
No, I,
LaMelo, we
I
have
I assume
Tyrese.
that you're not that high on Cade.
Not that high, but I could see him there in the second round, maybe a late second round pick. The way you said it, if I think about it, the players there and with the lots of uncertainties there, yeah, he could. Plus the
He could.
situation he's
He could.
in,
Yeah.
the situation he's in, there's really no competition for minutes. Even if Detroit is probably tanking, they're still playing their young players, right? It's not like this Detroit team is not like the OKC tanking wherein they really need to tank because of those
Yes.
draft picks.
Yes.
Detroit, I
Agree.
don't think has that many or crucial draft picks to begin with. So
I
um,
guess my question to you is simple: is would you pick him over Donovan, Garland, SGA, or Bradley Beal? Because those are the players. Chris Paul. Those
I'll
are the five
probably
players that you will choose at that range. Bradley is going 33rd. That's his
really.
ranking.
I,
Yeah,
I
Bradley is
won't pick him
33rd.
over Bradley Beal.
Okay.
Uh, Chris
So,
Paul, man, Chris Paul.
Chris Paul, Garland, Mitchell, SGA, how about these guys? Because
I
if you're
might.
gonna pick, if you're gonna rank him around second or third in that group, then that automatically puts him in the top 30, right? I mean,
Yeah, maybe
that's just how it
I
is.
can see picking him over Shea.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I can pick him over Donovan though.
Okay.
Garland's gonna be close. Um, I can see picking him over Chris Paul just because Chris Paul's older, but I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Paul still could, do whatever he has done for the past couple of years. Uh, but yeah, I can see. I think except one player, maybe Donovan is the only guy I might pick for. Two, Bradley Beal is the other
Yeah.
guy. Um,
Actually, for me, I have him ahead of those guys. Just for this year. Just if Donovan was in the same situation as before, maybe I pick Donovan. But given the situations, it's close. But I have him a little higher than them. So we have a difference in value of Cade a little bit.
yeah, but I think what many managers would be torn about Cade is that the name value of these guys, right? Bradley
Yeah.
Beal, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland. I mean, Darius Garland last year was great, right? Uh, and to move him down below Cade, it's going to be hard for some managers to really imagine. Yeah, so Cade's gonna be a tough one. Late, Commission has him at late first round, late second round, maybe as early as late second round. Um,
Uh, 14-team league. I'm not saying 12-team
Yeah,
league. I'm
yeah.
not saying I'm picking him in a 24.
Most of what we're talking about is mostly on a 14-team league. Just because all of our leagues are 14 teams. Other guys, Isaiah Stewart, a disappointment last year. Is he going to be that guy many expect? I mean, he doesn't have competition, right? So, I mean,
He
position wise,
has
maybe yeah, who? Olinik,
Duren.
Noel, Duret.
Jalen Duren actually that's what's making me think twice because Detroit loves Duren. I mean, boy, the coach loves him, the GM loves him. He was a top. They were all shocked beyond belief that he was there at number 13 because the story there was they were deciding between him or Jaden Ivey at number 5. They were deciding between the two, and then they were shocked that both were available because Ivy was projected to be number 3, I think, or something, or 4. And then Sacramento went with Keegan Murray. So Ivy felt 5. But at that point they were sure that Ivy was not going to be available. So they were going to pick Duren, and they were shocked that he was available 13. I'm not saying that Duren would be starting over him, but you gotta. There's another player they're developing now in Duren. So I'm not sure that Stewart will get minutes handed to him like the past, right? Although actually even the past he was not given the minutes because he kind of sucked. So I don't know. I don't know about this year and his minutes.
Yeah, but for sure, Stewart will start. Um, Maybe there's competition, but it's so hard to pick a player like Duren, over Stewart just because he's a rookie. And we
Yeah,
haven't really seen much, right? And he's not really a household rookie name, right? Not every manager knows about him as much. So, you know, risk averse managers would probably want to see more of him first before picking him. Um, so I think Stewart stays there, but it's just that I'm not even sure if he's gonna be good this
they
year.
they want him to shoot more from the outside. And that is also because of Duren. If you saw the summer league, they were asking him to shoot threes.
Yeah,
That's what they plan to do with him because they want to play him with Duren at the same time. So if the percentages of Stewart is good from the 3-point range, then that helps him. That helps his value somewhat. But if he doesn't shoot well, then I don't know. I'm sorry, but I've seen Duren play, and I know his upside, and he will be their center of the future. So Stewart will better make those 3-pointers if he wants to stay fantasy relevant for
so you're
us.
staying away from Stewart.
At
And
this
we'd
point,
rather we'd rather take a chance on Duren and at the very late rounds.
I've seen managers who have shown me their teams have Duren as their last pick, and I was shocked actually that they did that. At first, I was thinking about Duren as one of the last picks, but looking at the depth chart, I agree with you that they won't give it to him right away. There's Nerlens Noel there. There's Kelly Olynyk, and remember, this is Dwayne Casey. This is
Yeah.
Dwayne Casey. So this is not someone
This
who.
is Dwayne Casey who from time to time would start Corey Joseph.
Yes, yes. That is the reason why
That's the reason
every
why I picked
manager asks.
Alec Burks.
Yeah, possible. Yeah, that's possible. Although Ivy is a higher pick, so a high pick. Like maybe he will be forced to play Ivy because that's their centerpiece addition this
Yeah.
year. Duren is not as high a pick, so that's why I'm not too sure. I just tell people if you picked him, just be patient. You have to be very very patient, and you have to know that you can afford zeros for quite some time. Remember Isaiah Jackson, something like that.
Yeah.
A while ago we compared Jamal's fantasy to Pascal Siakam. This year I will see Jalen Duren as Isaiah Jackson. If he gets minutes, he's gonna perform fantasy wise because of his skill set. But when will that happen?
One
So no,
thing.
I will not pick Duren in the late rounds unless all of a sudden Detroit says that he's gonna start.
Yeah.
So then we'll change it.
One thing's for sure about Isaiah Stewart, he's probably not gonna go as high as he did last year.
Yes. Yes.
Probably he's gonna go at the 80s, maybe the 90s. Right? I mean, I don't see him. Last year he went what 50s, 60s. I think those were the. That's where he's part of that. Mid round surge of centers that were picked.
He's at 111. He's at 111 this year.
See, even better. I think 111 is a good pick if you
Just
if you
about
want
right.
to go.
Yeah, just about right.
I mean, that's not a high risk pick. I mean, if you pick him 111 and he doesn't perform, it's easier to drop him eventually, right?
Yeah.
It's not gonna be as hard. Other players who you think might surprise this year here in Detroit?
Um, I say
Ivy?
Livers. I mentioned him a while ago, and then maybe Sadiq Bey. Sadiq was so good last year. I mean, the second half of the year, right? It
Yeah.
was unbelievable. And Jeremy's gone. Jeremy's Grant is gone. So I think Sadiq is a little underrated. A little underrated because of Cade, Ivy, and all these players. Sadiq is just those boring guy. He he has potential to be those boring players that just scores a lot of threes and then solid 3-point shooter, but he's a streaky guy, so be careful about that.
Yeah.
About Sadiq.
So yeah, you mean watch out for Sadiq.
Lastly, Ivy. I'm staying away from Ivy. If you remember how Jalen Green started, how Jalen Suggs started, it has the same thing written all over. The efficiency, the fantasy problems. You can't shoot, doesn't steal the ball as much, and everything. So
if you really look at Detroit's depth chart, it's really pretty much just Cade, Sadiq, Stewart, and maybe a little Bagley. You can take a late round flyer on maybe Jalen Duren, or maybe fans of Kelly Olynyk can still try to pick him.
no,
But I think the short, at least early on, players with at least better fantasy value: Cade, Sadiq, Bagley, and Stewart. Four deep when it comes to fantasy. All right, let's move on to the defending champs. This is timely because there was a question, I think, in our messages that came in about Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga. But before we get there, it's all about the starting five for the Golden State Warriors. I think, Curry, Klay. I mean, I don't think we're gonna talk much about the starting five.
Yeah, I agree.
They're pretty.
I think that's the starting five. That's the starting five.
Yeah. Any chance James Wiseman
None.
be promoted eventually?
Not this year. I don't see it this year, especially coming off 2 years of break. Maybe in the future years. Not this year. Kevon Looney is not old. He looks old, but he's not old.
He's I think mid-20s.
Yeah, he got a new contract and he fits the starting five very, very well.
He's been playing better. He's been playing better. Yeah. Last year he showed.
So no, I don't see that. I don't see that happening.
Now let's talk about I think all except for Looney. I don't know if Draymond is still fantasy relevant at this point.
Yeah, Draymond is actually Draymond. If you're in a punt free throw build, is someone you can consider because he's going low. He's going low. He's around late
last year
75. He's 75. So
75 is not really low.
Well, it's low. It's low for him. I think if you punt,
he's lost a little bit. He's lost a lot of those triple doubles, high steal, high block games. He's lost a lot of those. I mean, he's a great defender, but he's like a more intangible. His contributions have been more intangible than seen in the stat sheet.
I think we kind of we were underwhelmed with this season last year, but he got injured. He was my player. He was a player in one of our leagues, and he got injured. But before that, yeah, he was around 7-7-7, around 1 point something steals, 1 point something blocks. So those numbers are okay. I mean, those numbers are okay. not the peak Draymond, of course, but that's still worth something. As I said, if you're punting something like free throws or points, one of the two, Draymond suddenly becomes valuable. And if you can get him at late 70s or 80s, then there's still some value there for him. Of course, not like before, but in the right build, he's still relevant. I think
Or
that's the
if
point
you've
to
got a
that.
lot of scoring already and you don't
Yes,
really need that,
yes,
he can do the other things or pretty much everything other than score.
yeah.
That's what Draymond can do. Wiggins showed lots of nice things during the playoffs and during the finals. I probably can see him moving up the ranks once
He's
again this year.
He might be overdrafted, I think,
Yeah,
because of
that's it.
people remembering what he did. But he's 99 this year.
99
So
is not so bad.
yeah, actually, it's not so bad.
It's
I'm just
not so
saying
bad. Is Clay
maybe some
going
people
higher?
maybe some people will go higher in picking him because of what he did in the playoffs. But the problems with his fantasy game is still there. At least none in the regular season. 63% free throw shooter and nothing else much. He's improved his 3 pointers. He can steal the ball as we saw last year. So I don't know. Do you buy the playoff performance or maybe
No,
it was just
99
he was
is not bad. That's just
yeah,
me.
but
I
99
think
is okay.
if you're gonna pick him at the 70s or the 60s, I think that's a little too high. Highest you can go maybe the late 80s. Uh, I think that's okay. There are flaws to his game. That's the challenge there. So as long as you understand the flaws in his game, then he can be worth a pick there in the late you know 90s or early 90s or late 80s, right? Uh, Klay Thompson. There's been a question about Klay Thompson. I think in one of our um in our Facebook group. Last year he was injured, so he was somehow drafted really low. Part of those injured guys. Did play much as well this last year. This
Um
year, how do you see him? I mean, is he going to get back to that old player
no.
in what he's been going, what, third round, fourth round, right? 50s, 40s, right? Those are the peak play.
No,
Even
the peak play
30s.
was second round. The peak play was around
Yeah.
second round.
But that's just what, 1 year, 2 years?
There were times, yeah, but he reached he reached
Yeah,
those
he
levels.
reached those level, yeah.
Yeah, but right now he's 78 and about right for me. 70 to 80. If you're gonna ask
Has
me,
Clay moved to being just a specialist now?
I
Just a
think so.
3-point specialist.
I think so. If you watch him in the playoffs, you would not notice it if you don't really look carefully. He's lost a step defensively, and that's one of the things that he's proud of, that he could play defense, right?
Yeah.
He's a good defender, but he's lost a step, and having, I think, ACL and Achilles, right, back to back, if
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
yeah.
That takes something, but he was able to come back. Yes, he's still a good 3 point shooter. He still scores. He's still okay. That's why I have him around his tier is the Tyler Hero, Jordan Poole, the Sadiq Bey. These are the players that I
Is
think
he
for
still better than these guys though?
um maybe not.
Because the name value, he still has name value. I mean, Klay Thompson, but
For
over these guys,
he's gonna be drafted around the same level as these guys, but his ownership percentage will be higher because of his name value, as you said.
yeah,
But I will not pick him over them because I think he's also gonna be load managed. He's still gonna be managed, and he's still gonna miss games, rest days, and everything. So
so
mm,
now the
yeah.
question is, do you pick Jordan Poole over Klay Thompson?
For now, yes. I'll pick Poole over Klay Thompson. Again, another player Poole will back up is Steph Curry.
Mhm.
Steph, we know that we love
Who are
Steph.
these guys backing up Steph? I mean, we know
Um,
Mac McClung, but Ryan Rollins, I don't. I'm not.
Ryan Rollins is the rookie second rounder. Solid guy, good guy. He's a good pick. He's a good pick, but he's a rookie. Mac McClung, he's not a rookie, but almost like a rookie. I mean, he didn't play much.
I think he's the US version of Mav here in the Philippines.
Yeah, you can
Right,
put it
right.
that way.
He's got a
Yeah,
YouTube channel, but he can still being in the summer league. I think, or being in some of the preseason teams, I think says a lot as well for Mac McClung.
I,
He can
Ro-
play, but maybe not sure if it's the NBA level.
no, Rollins and McClung, they put him in here as a backup, but he's not the guy there. They should have put Jordan Poole there. Poole will be the main backup of Curry off the bench, and then
Yeah.
Dante DiVincenzo. I think those are the two guys that will get majority of the minutes at guard of the bench.
All right. So now there was a question about Moody and Kuminga potentially breaking out. Breakout might be too much of a term, too high of an expectation. I don't think they're gonna break out, but at least can they have some value? Given that some of these players might be load managed for Golden State after having a long season.
I think so. Look at they became shallower. The rotation.
Yeah,
They
they
lost Otto
did.
Porter. They lost Delica. They lost who else? They lost a lot of players off their bench. Who's the guy? JTA, Juan Toscano
Yeah.
Anderson, Payton. So they lost a lot of players, and they only signed Dante DiVincenzo. Obviously, somebody will step up, and I would put Moody over Kuminga because I've heard some bad reviews about Kuminga, bad stories about his attitude supposedly in off season. I don't know if they're true. I'm just saying. I'm just saying that we heard something about that. And Moody last year was solid already. So Moody. If I'm gonna bet, it's Moody. It's Moody. He's gonna take. I
Draftable,
mean,
both these guys.
no, not draftable. Someone you're gonna you have to put in your watch list right away. He could be a Desmond Bain kind of player. You pick him up the start of the season and he stays in your roster the rest of the way. It's
Yeah.
possible. It's possible.
All right. So yeah, that's it. That's the Golden State Warriors. Anything you want to add? Surprise
Yeah.
players? A bunch of players here we don't really know or haven't really heard of.
If you're in Dynasty League, maybe Patrick Baldwin, another rookie who was projected top 5, and then he played for his father in college and ruined his career because his father just gave him the ball and told him to do everything. And then, of course, fathers don't know best sometimes.
Yeah, well,
But he's talented. He's very talented.
all
So
right.
if you're in dynasty leagues, maybe consider him. But if you're in redraft leagues, the players we mentioned, those are just the players you have to look out for.
All right. Last for today, today's episode, the Indiana Pacers starting lineup. I'll let you do this. This was probably easy.
Yeah. This can go a lot of ways. Actually, we can debate. I don't know. I've asked you a question here. I'm sure Haliburton, Jalen Smith, and Myles Turner will start. But who
Yeah.
will start with them? Who do you have starting with them?
Yeah, Buddy Hield would start. I mean, Duarte would start. I think this is a good starting lineup.
Because they said Hield will go back to his 6-man role. That's what they say. I mean, some people say. I mean, he's going back to the 6-man role. I don't know. I don't know how you see it.
Or maybe he's going somewhere else.
Possibly also, yes.
But no, I don't see him moving back to 6. I mean, he was so good last year. Buddy Hield was the Buddy Hield that many really wanted from Sacramento, right? He played well. He contributed more, not just the threes, not just a specialist. Well, this is fantasy wise, of course. So I think for his fantasy value, if he moves back to the 6-man role, I'm not even sure if he's still gonna be draftable, but not the Buddy Hill that we saw late last year.
Yeah, but that's what I thought. I thought
who's gonna start though?
Maturin.
Nesmith?
A lot of
Maturin?
Pacers. Yeah, a lot of Pacers reporters, analysts were saying Maturin and Duarte will start because they want Hield as their sixth man. Others have said that O'Shea Brissett will start. So there have been a lot of things going on.
But
It's unclear. Of course, this is one of the teams that you have to watch out for in training camp because there's still Isaiah Jackson. Remember,
yeah,
so there's a lot of things here that can change, and they're a very flexible team. As Maturin, Terry Taylor, remember Terry Taylor?
yeah.
remember this guy? So a lot of good players there, not great, not but solid players. So they could go a lot of ways. If you ask me, I'm gonna go Duarte and Maturin starting and Hield off the bench. Because they want to trade him already. I
No,
think
but if you think about it, yeah, that can also happen. It can also, go the other way where in Duarte comes off the bench.
yeah, that's also
Um,
possible. Yeah.
I think last year they did some of those when, after Hield got traded to Indiana. The thing is, if you look at this depth chart, there's really no one in the second unit who you can say can score here. Um, so that's why they might move back either Duarte or Hield. I think, from the basketball point of view, that could make sense. Uh, Hield though is a more established name, I guess.
Yes,
That's the
yes.
only reason why he probably would start, but and Duarte comes off the bench. But I also can see, Hield coming off the bench just to give them a boost in scoring from the
That's
second
true.
unit.
Well, if we talk about fantasy values, we talked about Haliburton a while ago. I think we don't have to talk about him anymore. His range goes everywhere. I think we both agree that for us he's a late 14 team first rounder. Late.
Yeah.
I mean close to early second round, late first. 13, 14, 15, 16, somewhere there. Some people have him at 30s. I find that too absurd. That's too low. But that's our take. And then after that, Buddy Hield for me. Myles Turner, of course. Myles and Buddy Hield will probably be number 2 and number 3. Do you agree with that? I think Turner
Yeah.
and Buddy.
Yeah. I
So
think Smith will surprise us a bit. I mean, I feel like we've seen how good he can be. I think he's gonna be better this year just because he's new contract. Um, uh, More established role. I mean, last year he got the role because someone got injured, right? Myles Turner got injured. Now, at least it's clear he's going to be the starting power forward. So I think Jalen Smith will surprise us a bit here. I think he's the guy that might surprise us here.
you have
Miles,
him over Jackson?
yeah, I have him over Jackson.
Okay.
Unless Miles Turner goes down. I mean, you know what I like about Jaden Smith? He can rebound, he can score, he doesn't hurt you in the field goal. Maybe you would want more blocks. Isaiah Jackson can give you blocks, but maybe you could get your blocks somewhere else. Uh, so I have him over Jackson. Do you have Jackson over Jaden Smith?
No, I asked that because Jackson is 85th, Jalen is 89. So they're near
They're
each other,
close. They're
and
close.
they're close. And I've heard, of course, some analysts, popular ones who really love Isaiah Jackson. So I'll answer it two ways. What kind of a player are you? If you're someone who just wants solid guy, no risk, just somebody who's going to be solid, I'll go Jalen Smith. But if you want a jackpot kind of a player, you go Isaiah Jackson. If Myles Turner gets traded,
You know why Isaiah Jackson gets a premium on the rankings, right? Because he can block.
yeah,
And
not
Jalen
only block,
Smith,
he can steal and block.
well, he can defend. Let's put it
Yeah,
that way. But he's not I can't say he's a better scorer than Jalen Smith. I think Jalen Smith is a better scorer. I'm not even sure he's a better rebounder.
yes, I could say he's a better rebounder. Scorer,
You
Jalen
mean,
Smith is a better shooter. I
yeah,
would
he
give Jalen,
is.
but Isaiah Jackson, if you get him and then Myles Turner gets traded, he's top 50. He's
Well,
top 50 if he stays
well,
healthy.
it's a
So
different story when Myles Turner gets
yes,
traded.
so no, but he won't be traded by the time you draft. So it's up to you if you want that risk, that gamble. that you pick him in the 80s or 90s, maybe 90s, and then he gives you top 50 value the rest of the way after Myles Turner gets traded, which I think he will get traded. So, what kind of a manager are you? That's the question there. What kind of how much of a gambler are you? I
Well,
guess.
even if Myles Turner doesn't get traded, we're sure Myles Turner is not gonna finish the season. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
We haven't seen Myles Turner finish a season for years. Now let's segue to that. Myles Turner has not finished a season for years. Has been going what, third round, fourth round, probably one of
Third
the
round,
better center options there in the late
43rd,
second, third round, right?
43rd. He's
So
43rd now.
how do you treat him now? Coming off an injury, missed pretty much half of the season.
I'm not really into Myles Turner this year. Maybe it's also because of my draft. Here's the thing. Our draft position is 13, 14, somewhere there.
So we'll
That it
probably
will
miss out on him already.
no. This is the funny thing. You're gonna pick a risky player there already. Then the next pick is 42, 43, which is where Myles Turner is. And I'm pretty sure he's gonna be available at that range. So that's funny because that is the kind of first round pick we will get. Is the kind of it's not the first round pick for Myles Turner. As you said, he's very risky. He will get traded. He might get injured. So I'm not high on him this year. On
But
Myles Turner.
40s, too high. If he
Yeah,
drops
for
to
me.
60s.
Probably 50s I'll consider. 50s maybe I'll consider, but
You consider, but there was some hesitation there. 60s
uh,
probably, right? 60s.
yeah, I'm sure Myles Turner is gonna explode start of the season.
He does all the time. He
Just
does every
try to
year.
trade him again
He
if you
does
can.
every year. He starts strong every year and doesn't finish the season. That's Myles Turner's story. I'm just thinking of other centers who might, go, you know, might be better options than him. I mean, there will be a lot, but
He has Jarrett Allen Mobley. That's his tier. Allen Mobley, Aiton, Vucevic. That's their tier. And I have all of those ahead of him.
yeah,
I
for
have all
sure,
of those ahead of
for
him.
sure. I mean, I'd rather have Jarrett Allen. He's other than the threes, he pretty much. I mean, Mobley, right? Threes, blocks, same stat set, pretty
This will be
much.
harder. Miles, Kristaps, Miles or Kristaps, or Nurkic maybe. That's the tier
Hey,
I
Nurkic
think
has
he
been
should be
killing
in.
it in the what the qualifiers, right?
Yeah, but that is the tier I think Miles Turner should belong in, not the tier I mentioned a while ago. I think he's in the Jonas Valanciunas, Porzingis, Miles Turner, Nurkic. That's the tier. That's where
Where
he
is
he belongs.
Valanciunas is still in New Orleans, right?
Yes, Valanciunas in New Orleans. I'm
It's
down on
just
Valanciunas. I'm down
yeah,
on
because
Valanciunas this
Zion's
year.
coming back. Uh, right. The same
Yes.
question I had with you the other day in our group chat about Herb Jones. Um, you know, e- Everyone was so high on Herb Jones. I stopped bidding on Herb Jones because I realized Zion's coming back. But
Yes.
yeah, we will probably talk about that in the next episode. But I think yeah, I have those guys over Myles Turner. I think Myles Turner can give you blocks, threes, and pretty much that's it. Um, I can see him as a specialist. So if you're really, but he can win you blocks single handedly. I mean, but
Yes.
with coming off an injury, we're still not sure. So I think, yeah, you're right. I have lots of those guys: Jarrett Allen, Mobley, even Valanciunas, Vucevic, of course, obviously over him. If you want,
Aiton. Yeah.
who's the other guy? Aiton, yeah. So yeah, those are solid players, younger, not as injury prone than Myles Turner. Other players who so Isaiah Jackson is probably the surprise guy here.
Yeah.
Duarte maybe. Can you say about Duarte?
Duarte, yeah, maybe a late rounder. He could be
But
a
Duarte is just a scorer. That's not a good. He's not a good fantasy option
yeah, he
other than
started well
scoring.
last year. He started
Well,
well.
because no one knows him.
Yes, he wasn't that hyped. That's why people were on him. But I think he's what he is. He's a solid guy, decent guy, someone you will pick in the FA sometimes. Sometimes you will drop.
Yeah, if
So
you
I
need
think
scoring, I think he's the guy. He can be.
he could help in scoring. I think there are a lot of players here that could be question marks. TJ McConnell for one, he
Mhm.
got injured last year. So
He was
we are
also
just
asked in one of the, I forgot a comment or what about TJ McConnell.
hmm I think McConnell, people kind of forgotten about him, but he's still that guy. He's still the assist and steals guy. I don't think anything changing there. But he's not, of course, gonna have a big role anymore because Haliburton is there. So that's why if you're in deep leagues, if you need assists late in the 11th, 12th, 13th round, I still see him as someone you can consider there. But his
Mhm.
upside is not that high anymore. So he's probably the last few picks there just to round up your team, just to get assists and steals. You're catching up on those stats. He's a specialist in is what we're saying. A
Yeah.
lot of question about Maturin also. I'm not that high on Maturin. He's a sixth pick. I know he's a very confident, arrogant guy. He has all the confidence in this world. But what does he do? He shoots threes. That's it. He's basically Buddy Hield, 10 years younger. So, not this year for me, Maturin. Not yet.
Mhm. All right. So yeah, that wraps up our depth chart analysis for these four teams, and hope that helped you guys. Very interesting teams, unlike the past episode wherein we ended on a dull note with the Dallas Mavericks, which really didn't have much fantasy players as options. Anyway, that's it, guys, for this episode. We'll see you on the next one for the next four depth chart analysis. We'll try to finish everything in the next couple of weeks for you guys to, as you prepare for your drafts. Draft season's coming. Probably in a week or two, there will be lots of drafts going on. So we'll see you in the next episode, guys. Bye.